Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And this week we attended a charity fundraiser in the grounds of Frogmore House.
Well, it was actually an open day, one of the 3 open days that they do at Frogmore House and Gardens, which is in Windsor. It's where Meghan and Harry are living now with baby Archie. And it's also where they had their royal wedding reception, the evening reception that was private.
It's called Frogmore because of the preponderance of frogs, which have always lived in this low-lying marshy area, according to the royal family website, although we didn't see any frogs while we were there. What we did see was a winding lake, beautiful redwoods to remind Meghan of California, lush gardens, and then we went on a tour of the house.
Well, I was not ready at all for what we saw.
We got inside and I'll start with the upholstery.
I'm just imagining you have, Oprah and Amal Clooney and George Clooney wandering around. In the main room is this pink and red leaf print everywhere. The curtains, they've got this circular sofa.
Banquette.
They got this horrible, really garish print everywhere. And the worst part is that it's like competing with this floral carpet. It's a different floral. It's more of a burgundy. It's just like, I love a print clash. There's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And this was
100% the wrong way to do it.
Absolutely. So this house, we should say, was originally where Queen Victoria's mother lived, and it's also where Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are buried. But Queen Victoria's mom was like really into the combination of lilac and gold. So her sitting room so you've got the lilac walls with this gilded cornicing, and then in the corner they have these sofa booths in this unbelievably naff chintz material. It's so incongruous.
Yeah, like even if you were to kind of take out a lot of the furniture, what's left behind is still distinctly un-Meghan. And they must have had to remove so much stuff from this house before the wedding, because the rooms that weren't these kind of grand rooms were absolutely full of what I can only describe as a collection of crap.
Yeah, like if they weren't royals, you would definitely call them hoarders. Yeah. They have a stunning collection of knickknacks. You're looking at glass figurines, little bits of knitting, a random map.
This like concertina picture that if you looked at it from one direction was a bull and from another direction was a horse.
Yeah, there was just, exactly the opposite of what you'd expect from a Meghan Markle production. When we were exploring, we decided we had to find where are the forget-me-nots, which followers of Sussex Royal on Instagram will remember from their cameo in the Mother's Day post that Meghan posted of little baby Archie's feet.
And we found them.
We did find them. They were used in the picture as a tribute to Princess Diana. They're supposedly her favourite flower.
And they're all over the place, like in little clumps. But we found what we think has to be the location, because there's a whole load of forget-me-nots. Beautiful backdrop for a photo, apart from the fact that what was just out of shot was like a wire fence that we imagine had to be pushed aside or stepped over.
Yeah, like Meghan with her perfect nude manicure, like just shoving this wire fence out of the way to get this gorgeous photo.
When we were going through the house, we asked, like, is this where they had the reception? And the response was totally baffling.
They were so rigid. It was like they knew that they had this rehearsed answer they had to give, but this woman sounded so tongue-tied when we asked her. She was just like, I don't know. We haven't been told anything. We weren't there.
But they took a similar line. We were walking around the grounds and we saw what frankly could only be Frogmore Cottage. And so we asked someone there, said, is this... the guard. We asked, sorry, excuse me, is this Frogmore Cottage where Harry and Meghan live? And their response was simply, there are many properties on the estate. It could be any one of them.
But again, like so stilted, as if they were like, am I getting my line right?
Yeah. that line is really betrayed by like the signs saying no photography, the like armed guards around the place.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry, it's just like where the gardener lives then, is it?
That was our big outing of the week. And then our big night in of the week was our screening of the Lifetime movie Becoming Royal, which is the story of the kind of first year of Meghan and Harry's marriage.
The closest thing I have to religion is yoga.
And it is a roller coaster. It's actually surprisingly moving. I enjoy Lifetime movies, but I wasn't maybe prepared for how much I would enjoy this one.
I know, there were definitely moments where I felt like I was tearing up.
Yeah.
There was like a scene with Meghan and her mother, Doria Ragland, in the car on the way to the wedding that was beautifully executed, I have to say.
Yeah.
They had recast, those of you who saw the first Lifetime movie with Meghan and Harry last year, the one where Princess Diana was a lion, they recast the Meghan and Harry, and the actress playing Meghan, Tiffany Smith, does look like Meghan. The actor who plays Harry
does not.
Has red hair. No disrespect to the actor, but he, we were all there for Meghan.
Yeah.
He was a negligible presence, honestly.
And Tiffany Smith, who played Meghan, she looks a bit like Meghan, but I think she really put the work in terms of getting her like mannerisms and looks and things.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciated that.
On Instagram, when we were watching it, we were sharing some of our highlights on stories. You can watch them. We made a little story highlight at AirheadsPod on our account if you want to see it. But you know who else saw it?
Tiffany Smith. We woke up and I was so excited. Tiffany Smith had messaged us saying that scene that we were just talking about with Doria in the car was one of her favourites, and another one of her favourites was this absolutely wild scene, the kidnap training montage.
Yeah, so as Meghan is preparing to become a member of the firm, which is apparently what they like to call themselves in the royal family, she has to learn how to protect herself in case anybody tries to kidnap her.
A process that apparently both Kate and Diana went through.
And this was a major Tom Cruise moment for Lifetime. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
There was high suspense music and...
Someone puts a bag over her head.
She has to do some really fast kicks and punches and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a nice little action-packed interlude.
It was
just all the drama.
It definitely felt very different from the tone of the rest of the film. Really very different. But I appreciated it. I've been thinking about it every day since watching it. And you get this real sense that they kind of invented villains outside of the firm for the purposes.
It was probably a wise thing to do.
Yeah.
There's so many rumours about feuds and disagreements and everything in the family, and I guess you don't want to pick a side to risk alienating fans of a certain royal. So instead they created this character, Annabella, who I believe was in the first movie, and she touched Meghan's hair in the first movie to kind of let you know what a baddie she was. But in this movie she doubles down. She's a real caricature of a villain, but she gets her comeuppance and Meghan hands it to her, right?
Yeah, she says at the end of their exchange, she says, "I think you forgot something. I'm still waiting on that proper royal curtsy. I'm a duchess now."
And she duly complies. That's another really good moment. I think my favourite thing about the movie was how it picked up on these, I guess, smaller stories about Meghan and about their wedding that had been made into big controversies. Things like the fit of the dress, the black nail polish that Meghan wore to the British Fashion Awards, her tights. For those of us who have seen Meghan wearing tights, it can be quite jarring. Why would anybody marry into a life of wearing flesh colour tights? In the film, there is this incredible moment where Meghan seems she puts her foot down. She has realised that she's losing a sense of her true self, and the tights have to go. So she goes and speaks to her royal aide, and they're preparing for the Hamilton gala. The courtier has her wardrobe all laid out. She's like, I can't sit back anymore. Things have got to start changing around here, starting with these. And she picks up a pair of the flesh-coloured tights and throws them on the ground. She starts pulling them out of the rails and just tossing them aside. And she's like, for the sake of this baby, I have to start living up to who I want to be. They also have a little bit of a reference to Meghan's California energy, or whatever they call it, that you know, there were all those stories about how she sends like 6 texts a day. She gets up at 5 a.m. to send emails, and so they have this scene where she's talking to her new secretary, and she says, you know, I get up pretty early, by the way. God, do I sound like a psycho or something. This secretary is thrilled. She's like, the American spirit of entrepreneurialism really inspires me.
Which is beautiful.
Great line.
Yeah.
But I guess the kind of central device they use in the film is to do with Meghan's cookbook for the Hub Community Kitchen, which was to benefit survivors of the Grenfell Tower fire. It's called Together. We've cooked several things from it and they're lovely. But in the film, they're telling the story of how it came to be. Instead of calling it Together, they have to call it
Together.
Yes, and so that they're choosing what the cover is going to be, and they have to choose between. So there's one which has a picture of Meghan really prominent. There's one which has a picture of the women of the kitchen quite prominent, and then there's one which just has a picture of tomatoes.
I think the central picture in that one is just a single tomato.
And the conclusion is that she can't hide who she is. She eventually goes with the cover that we end up having, which has a little picture of her and a lot of pictures of the women of the kitchen.
The movie ends with them bringing unnamed Royal Sussex baby in a pram. We don't see the baby. They kind of insert an actual picture of Harry and Meghan at the end with baby Archie. The final shot is from the perspective of the pram as they...
The baby in the pram.
Of the baby in the of the baby in the pram as they look down. Prams have featured this week because it's been reported that Meghan is dramatically breaking with tradition and going for a bugaboo pram rather than the traditional silver cross.
So Meghan has joined the cult of the statement pushchair. There was a report in The Sun on Wednesday that Meghan would be rejecting the Rolls Royce of prams. That's the silver cross. That's the one that Kate Middleton uses for George and Charlotte and Louis. And instead of that, Meghan would be going super modern with this yummy mummy pram that counts Victoria Beckham and Elton John and Gwyneth Paltrow among its fans.
So the silver cross is like the kind of Addams Family style, like
super traditional
one, and I'm really excited by this new one because it's the choice of posh London mums. It boasts a carry cot, buggy base, and all-wheel suspension to take it anywhere, from city streets to snowy trails. Where is Meghan planning on going with this baby? I'm glad she has the option. She can head off wherever she wants.
We had posted on Instagram to ask people what they would like us to talk about in this week's episode, and one of the topics that was suggested was more about the royal kids. People, they love those babies.
Goo goo gaga.
The big story in babies this week has to do with Prince George, who has bagged his first job.
So he's been helping Waitrose workers carry deliveries into his Norfolk home.
So there was a story in The Sun. So this is the headline, okay? Airs your bags, mum. Killer headline. Wow. Prince George greets the van with Dad William, and their helpful approach has become well known among supermarket staff. So this is Waitrose, which is like the posh supermarket over here. So George and William were praised for their constant offers to lug in the mammoth food order inside Anmore Hall. So they have a quote from an insider. George is always particularly helpful and is the one who asks each time what he can carry for them. He's a very inquisitive child. They give him lighter bags. It shows how down to earth William is. and that he wants his son to grow up being polite and helpful to others.
Which is a nice sentiment, but, you know, they do give him lighter bags,
They
so we
give him
can't give
lighter
him that
bags.
much credit. If you're interested, The Sun also did an artist's impression of what George would look like carrying a plastic Waitrose bag full of rice cakes.
So while George has been greeting Waitrose delivery staff this week, Archie has been greeting a host of celebrity guests in Frogmore Cottage with Meghan. So there have been reports that Serena Williams has been there. Meghan's stylist and best friend from Canada, Jessica Mulroney, has been there. And super couple Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra were there. Or were they?
So we've got two conflicting accounts of what's happened here. So The Sun reported that the feud is over. This is the rumoured feud between Meghan and Priyanka.
It basically goes back to Priyanka's wedding to Nick Jonas that Meghan didn't attend, and people claim that Priyanka was really not impressed with this and that she didn't go to the flashy New York baby shower that Serena Williams hosted for Meghan when she was pregnant, and so people think they're feuding. And
The Sun suggests that this is over, saying that Priyanka has visited with jewels from Tiffany
for the baby.
So The Sun speculate that one of these things could be a sterling silver bubble blower.
Yeah, a childhood favourite that retails for £235.
I really hope that's true.
I want to believe in the £235 Tiffany's bubble blower. But then the next day, the Daily Mail had a statement from Priyanka's rep saying that it never happened. So who knows?
Well, Priyanka herself has kind of like shed a little bit of light, not necessarily on the visit, but on her attitude towards Meghan. So she said to the Sunday Times that she was commenting on like Meghan being picked apart by the press. So she says, "I've seen that and it's really unfortunate, but if there's anyone who can handle it, it's her. Of course it has to do with racism, it's an obvious reason, but the beauty of Meg is that she's been herself through all of this. A lot of people got to know her after everything, when she started dating Harry, but I knew her before, and she's the same chick." That's like a wholehearted endorsement, I would say, of Meghan.
Doesn't sound like a feud to me.
Yeah. Even if she was just trying to like end people talking about a feud, she could have just said a couple of nice words and been like, yeah, I love Meghan. This is like in-depth, wholehearted support, I'd say.
Yeah, she's the same chick.
So while Priyanka is eager to put feud rumours to bed, Trump is picking fights ahead of his visit.
So Donald Trump he's coming. He's coming to the UK on Monday. So he's coming for 3 days with almost his whole family. He's bringing his wife Melania and 4 of his 5 kids. So we've got Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Tiffany. Tiffany! There's some controversy around this. So Trump has said a number of things about the women of the royal family over the years.
In 1997, just after Diana died, in an interview with Howard Stern, he responded, Howard Stern said, "You could have nailed her." And he said, "I think I could have."
And suggested that he'd get her to take an HIV test first. He also took to Twitter for some reason to comment on those topless paparazzi shots of Kate, saying she had only herself to blame. He tweeted about it several times.
Yeah, obviously.
But the latest thing is, so Meghan, before she was married to Harry, did an interview on The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore in 2016, so the year of the election, and she called Trump divisive and misogynistic.
As misogynistic as Trump is, and so vocal about it, that's a huge chunk of it.
So Trump did an interview with The Sun this weekend, and he was asked if he knew about the things that she had said, and he said no, and he said, "I didn't know that she was nasty." Nasty. You're calling the Queen's granddaughter-in-law nasty the weekend before you're about to meet the whole family, including her husband. So while he's here, he's going to him and Melania will attend a banquet being hosted by the Queen and Prince Charles, and they've spent 6 months planning this thing, down to the 18 inches between each guest's plate.
Which is not going to be far enough. But What I like about the fact that like, quite a few of these engagements are like meals with the Queen, and an insider has apparently said the Queen, who is now 93, is said to be a brisk eater, and the banquets are not a lingering affair. This was reported in the Daily Mail.
God, there's going to be a lot of Gaviscon consumed that night, I would say.
She probably got some in Sainsbury's last week.
Well, I've been trying to think of what they're going to talk about at this banquet, what they're going to yell at each other over the 18-inch gaps between plates. And so I was thinking Buckingham Palace probably has the most similar decor to Trump Tower of...
Anywhere in the UK.
Which do you think has more gilded interiors?
Guild for guild, I'm on the Queen's side here.
I think two people that are going to get along are Prince Andrew, that's the Queen's second son. He was married to Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, and he's the dad of Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. I think Prince Andrew and Trump are going to get along like a house on fire because they have one passion in common, and that's golf.
Yeah, they're the only two that actually have something in common, as far as I can tell. And so he's like the perfect person to pick for this, I think.
What about the others, though? Like, we know that Trump and Melania are going to attend a tea at Clarence House with Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, and it's rumoured that Prince Harry is going to be there too. Whoa, what's that going to be like?
I feel like it's maybe significant that I haven't had like an official confirmation that Harry is going to be at this thing. Like with Trump's recent comments, if I was him, I'd be finding any excuse to bow out.
No, I think I would go and make a strong presence. You know, don't back down. This conversation is going to be private, I've heard, but it's also where Charles is supposedly going to get heated about climate change with the Trumps. And what I would give to be in the room to see Prince Harry's retelling of this occasion to Meghan later that day.
Yeah. Trump, who has got great quotes on climate change, such as America has the best climate.
You know, what's Charles's comeback to that?
I mean, there quite simply isn't one.
Yes, of course Trump is divisive.
Speaking of quotes, I think we should count down our quotes of the week.
Yeah?
I'll go first this time.
Okay.
So mine's got to be from Becoming Royal. It's when Meghan visits Kate. Little George and Charlotte come running in. They're playing some sort of fantasy game about dragons. And Meghan says to Charlotte, "Do you know what I'm learning, Charlotte? Inside of every princess, there's a real dragon. You just need to be careful when and how you let it out." And what about you, Tom?
So my quote actually comes not from the British royal family, but from Hollywood royalty. From Rob Lowe, who, when promoting his new show Wild Bill, came out with this great line. "One of the great traumatic experiences of my life was watching Prince William lose his hair. He's gonna be the fucking King of England. And there's a pill! The first glimmer that a single hair of mine was gonna fall out, I was having that stuff mainlined into my veins. And that's what I did for the next 30 years. Nobody asked you."
I know. I mean, the Telegraph asked him. I just can't believe that Rob Lowe, who has had troubles with addiction, he's had a sex tape scandal, he's had various highs and lows in his career, but no, this is the great traumatic experience of his life. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely had conversations about Prince William's hairline, but to talk about it in this way is so needless.
Yeah.
You know, of course Prince William's gonna be fine, you know.
Like, he's not going to lose his job because he's losing his hair. He's like one of the only people in the world who cannot lose his job.
I don't say this in a grandiose way. I have vision. So I can look at something and I can see what it can be.
Okay, time for outfits of the week. Tom, who is your fit for a king, fit for a queen?
My fit for a queen is Beatrice of Beatrice and Eugenie at the Royal Garden Party this week.
You probably remember Princess Beatrice most from her appearance at Kate and William's wedding when she wore that Philip Tracy hat.
Yeah, and her and Eugenie kind of became like a meme of the ugly stepsisters. which is interesting because they kind of, I feel like they made this like global debut as like this twosome, but she's definitely pulled away from, frankly, all the other royals in terms of her like exciting outfits.
She doesn't always get it right, obviously, but the one that she wore this week was a floral dress by the vampire's wife. It's a pretty cool Instagram and street style fave, and she then wore that with this berry red headband, almost a hat band, and a little basket bag from Zara.
Which is, this like high-low kind of accessible dressing is like
and
great for the royals.
Perfect for a garden party. Speaking of this garden party, we've got to get on to our first in line, and
this week we agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's Prince Harry.
It's got to be. There's no other contender.
So Prince Harry has come under some criticism because he hasn't taken paternity leave since baby Archie was born. But I think if he had taken paternity leave, he would have gotten lots of criticism.
Yeah, it's great. He's been like out and about, running around, talking about baby Archie, being like delighted dad, beaming, smiling.
It's pure gold, definitely, for the royals. So some of the things he's been doing, he travelled to The Hague for the Invictus Games. He travelled to Rome to play polo for his charity Santa Ballet. He opened the Cricket World Cup in London this week, and he also had the garden party with the Queen, and she looked delighted. It was raining, but she was shining. She was so happy to be with Prince Harry. It was adorable.
She was not the only person who looked and seemed absolutely delighted with him. Like we said, he's like come under kind of some criticism this week for being so busy. But his friend, the Argentine polo player Nacho Figueras, said, "I'm a father of 4 and sometimes duty calls. This is 24 hours away from the house. I think he's doing just fine. He's a wonderful father. I'm very impressed, and he's here for an amazing cause."
That's so sweet.
He didn't stop there, Maeve. Did you see his Instagram?
I loved his Instagram.
He leads very decisively with "the world thinks they know everything about this man." I should say that the images are all them like hugging and walking like arm in arm across the polo field. So the world thinks they know everything about this man. He describes him as a kind, generous, compassionate person who is constantly thinking about how to make the world a better place. And he ends it saying, "I'm honoured to be your friend, and let's keep fighting, because if we all fight together, love always wins." I'm very moved.
I also think it's quite a smart tactical maneuver, in the same way that Meghan is believed to have had her friends speak to People magazine on her behalf, since the royals can't speak out for themselves, that Nacho has stepped up and done likewise for Harry. But also, speaking of social media, I loved that Sussex Royal posted a tribute to Pride Month this week.
Was perfect.
So some people were a little bit critical, and they said the royals shouldn't be making political statements, as if support for the LGBT community is a political statement, which it shouldn't be. That's a baseline, people.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I really liked about it was, so they do this thing every month where they follow only the certain accounts dedicated to the cause of the month. So last month it was to do with mental health, and this month it's to do with LGBT causes. They had a little picture of Princess Diana visiting an AIDS hospice, or a former AIDS hospice called London Lighthouse in 1996. So it was a picture of her with one of the patients, Gerard McGrath, and I thought it was such a nice thing to do.
I love this because, this was something Diana kind of, so much of her charity work then had to go like outside of the royals, and, people absolutely adored her for it. So I love the fact that they're bringing this into something that can be done within the royal family, and that should be done by the royal family. I think we're going to wrap up this episode here. We've got some exciting stuff this week coming up. We've obviously got the Trumps coming. They'll probably be here by the time you're listening to this. And then we have Trooping the Colour, and the Queen's official birthday, and the birthday honours list will be coming out.
So we can look forward to seeing the debut on the balcony from little Louis, and hopefully the return of Meghan next week at Trooping the Colour. They were practicing Trooping the Colour this weekend, overseen by Prince Andrew, and it was so hot that 2 of the guys collapsed.
I mean, I wonder if they're going to like make some adjustments to the uniform. Maybe they'll get shorts.
I would love to see the shorts with the beefeater hat.
Yeah. Maybe they make they could have shorts but in the same furry fabric. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked it, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
And you can also find us on Instagram at airheadspod, where you can see our pictures from Frogmore if you want to render your own judgment on how Meghan the interior was not. And also our highlights from Becoming Royal.
So thanks so much. Bye.
Do you know what I'm learning, Charlotte? That inside of every princess, there's a real dragon. You just need to be careful when and how you let it out. That's very good advice. You should listen to your aunt. She knows what she's talking about.